Hello everyone, welcome to the second day of In the Way. In this session, we are here with Ayşegül Yıldırım from Admost Studios. She will be talking about monetization 101, the key words for the monetization and mobile revenue monetization. So I'd like to invite her today to present her presentation. Hello everyone. Hello, Ms. Ayşegül, welcome again. Thank you. If you're ready, you can start screen sharing. All right. Thank you, Serdar. Hello, everyone. Happy weekends. Let me share my screen right away, and I will provide the outline of my presentation. I am Ayşegül. Let me introduce myself first of all. I'm actually an independent mediation solution, Admost. So it's a mediation solution, but we are not. We are also working on the game development and story development. So we created a product out of our necessities, and we try to make sure that the product is suitable for all of the necessities in the market. We are now helping technically in this business manner, helping the other independent developers in terms of metric measurements. So for any kind of games or applications, as you know, there is some strategies in terms of tracking the revenue optimization. This is the subject of my presentation. I hope my presentation will yield great results for you. And at the end of my presentation, I hope there will be some questions that I can answer. So I'm starting now. Let me start with the statistics from the year 2021. So I think everyone knows that the market is exponentially growing. The download rate is about 230 million, or the expenditures is about $170 billion. And per user, the hours spent in a day is 4.8. And of course, it increases in weekends and holidays. And of course, the mobile advertisement expenditure is expensive. So that's actually the expenditure spent to bring and attract new users and players. In addition, there's something that everyone knows, which is that the market is growing so beautifully. However, in this market, the strategy profit margin is important and difficult. Making your product lovable and favorable is not that easy. So let me go through the game, the types of game, not applications, but do you say something, Serdar? Okay, you can go on, yes. All right. So casual games and hyper-casual games are the two classified games, but of course they have their subclasses. Casual games are the games that the players can play spontaneously without spending so much time. And hyper-casual games, so there are basic mechanics, very language interface, and accessible features. These two games are actually the games that we are familiar with, and all of them are serious ones. But there is a growing trend into casual games as well. And every part of the world, there are many companies that are prone to one or the other. So how we can make money out of our games? So this is what I'd like to talk about. So there are two options that we can make our product downloadable for free for paid download. So, or we can share advertisements, profit advertisements for our games. But in advertisements, there should be a technical infrastructure and a strategy. Sorry if my connection is too bad. I'll check my internet connection. If my connection is bad, I can close my camera off. No problem right now, but there's some glitches. All right. If there's any problem, I can turn my video off. So fundamentally, there are some making money earning models, but of course, each of them has their own strategies. I would like to talk about the types of advertisements, especially on the side of hyper-casual. Advertisements are really important. The advertisements are important because, you know, the purchase rate is sometimes too less, which is important for the success of the program or the game. So for that reason, you need to provide good solutions, and you need to catch any kind of potential viewers or users that are interested in your product. You can do it through advertisements. And this shouldn't be too boring, and you shouldn't be missing the players. And these players, the users of your application or game, should be able to watch the advertisements all the time. Rewarded type of advertisement is the advertisements in which there's a reward. In exchange of something, that user is just watching the advertisement. And we can say that the user experience is highest in reward type in advertisements. And the another type of advertisements, interstitial type of advertisements. It's a transition advertisement that is popped out in the middle of the levels, and it can vary from a design to design. And in native type, the native advertisements are local advertisements that we normally see and position in our game. The offerable advertisements is the offerable, as the name says. So for example, you're playing a game, that advertisement comes up and says that if you download that game, you will earn that items in the next levels. So in general, those were the advertisement types. Now, where do the advertisements come from? Advertisements are coming from ad networks. These are Snapchat, Amazon, Facebook. These are big companies that we get advertisements from. Actually, by collecting all the advertisements from these companies, you need to distribute to those advertisements to suitable positions, because you also need to choose the highest price advertisements among all the available advertisements, and in that way, maybe you can generate more revenue. Therefore, by competing and selecting the best advertisement is a strategy that you need to focus on as well. So let's talk about pricing in advertisements. There is one model that we call eCPM. There is a math calculation of this. You just divide it by the total of the appearances of the advertisement, and you get a result. And there's also the model of CPC model. This is the cost per click. And in this formula, you just divide the total amount of advertisement expenditure with the total calculated clicks. And the CPA model is a cost per action model, is the advertisements in which there is an action, like there is a button on the game under the advertisement, and you click on it, and once that the button is clicked by the user, then you get successful result. By doing all of these, of course, and there is a debate, a matter of debate in all of our sectors, which is GDPR, about data protection. It's about how we can protect the data of the users, or whether we can hold the user or store the user data properly. So being a GDPR, being compatible with the GDPR is an actually obligation. And being in harmony with the consents of the users will, of course, increase the quality of your advertisements. Because if you are suitable and if you're okay with the GDPR, then your advertisements will be chosen better and more. So there's one other topic that everyone had there in mind, which is what criteria are important in order to make a product successful. There are many metrics, there are many strategies, but here I've tried to provide the most important ones in a nutshell, in a list. So of course, in the analytics interfaces of Admost, we show more than 100 metrics, and all of these 100 metrics are important in which the user can get insight from, because every key, every metric might be critic based on strategy. The first metric is the daily active user, a monthly active user, the total number of users per month or day. The session user one is how many times a user log in to the game or application. Retention is one of the most important metrics, is something which is an indicator showing whether the application is liked or not. It's about the total number of repeated actions of the users opening the game again. And it's an important metric that will provide the sustainability of your product, because the user opens it all the time, then your business model will be scalable. There are some concepts like day 7 retention, day 1 retention. For example, we are trying to see whether the user comes again after the 7 days or 1 day or 3 days, and how many of the users are in my game after 1 month. So in this one, we are trying to closely monitor the behaviors of the users. For example, one user downloads my game, so then I am closely monitoring daily activities of that user. For example, I'm saying that this month I have 300 users, but the next one I have more than 400. And also I'm trying to track the view rates per advertisement, the average of the revenue, or the money that you spend, for example, to get that users, and the profit margin of the expenditure spendings that you made. These are all metrics that we did. And we are also looking at where the user comes from. Which user are engaged in my application or spending more hours or doing in-game purchase. So all of the details are included. We're also tracking the good money spending, because the user are using your product and making your money. And now we are trying to get the balance from profit earning and profit losing. The other fact is time in app. Time in app shows the average time that the users spend in a game. It depends from country to country. You know, if there is a difference between country to country, and we are trying to figure out why it is so. Is it because of culture, or we need to do something and then we need to take an action? ARPU is one of the most important profitability metric. It shows the average revenue per user. I think this is one of the most popular ones in the market. So let me talk about user acquisition by completing the flow. So for example, I have an application on the market and I need some user, because I have a business model, and I need to operate that business model. So I need some users. So I need to attract them, right? So there are some mobile measurement applications. You can use them, and you can use metrics by sharing and publishing some advertisements through some channels like YouTube or Facebook. And then through MMPs, you can measure the performances of your advertisements. And for different types of advertisement groups, you can create different designs and strategies. As you know, in the application games, if the visuals that you create or the content you create or the creative that you create for a game is about 300 or 400 sometimes. So that's why you need to provide all of the things. If there are any questions, I will be happy to answer after all. And this paid organic install is important because you need to check whether your user download your game is organic or not. And if seeing and downloading the game is the final result that we want to get. And the key factor is that the users seeing the advertisement and clicking on the button and downloading it. All right, so after doing the user acquisition and when I get the users, the question is how we can evaluate the users. There is one concept that we call Ltv Lifetime Value, which is really important. The total time based on the total revenue that you can get from lifetime value. If I'm spending $1,000 for one user, then let's say that user has 30 days. If I can generate $500, then it's a great. But if the user's average time is 5 days, then my revenue should have been more, right? So if it's 70 cents or it's less than $1, then I am losing my profit. So let Ms. Ayşegül, I think you were disconnected. So maybe you can repeat that. You were on the part that you talked about the 70 cents or $1 about profits, right? Could you repeat that again? Okay, in this lifetime value is about how much I paid, how much is spent, and how much I generated out of one single user based on the time they consume on the game, they spend on the game. So now, of course, the main goal is to get the profit right away. The average CPI is the cost per install, which is about how much I spend for one single install. So then I divide the in-game purchase by the received paid install number. And the other topic is the return on investment, ROI. For example, I've spent $1,000 for one single Instagram advertisement. If I get $2 per user, so which means that I spent $10,000 per 2 installs per users. So the question is, how much does it take for me to earn that $1,000? So how much time does it take for me to earn that money? And this is what we measure actually. And of course, there are some details of this. I can answer them later on at the presentation. So let me talk about the cycle of advertisements. There are good strategies in advertisement strategy because, in the advertisement cycles, when and which advertisements should be published. Because as you know, we are mediation. we are trying to respond every detail in the advertisement. So we are trying to get the strategy with the client, because we have a lot of know-how and we can provide some solutions based on the scenario or the context. Sometimes we take a look at the game particularly, and we can provide some tailor-made solutions. And in this regard, it's important for us to provide face-to-face feedbacks. The application might be great and beautiful. If the advertisement cycle is bad, then you might not be able to generate revenue out of it, because you might have your advertisement on the wrong place. Maybe you are not providing an attractive reward on your advertisements, etc. So we are in Admost, we're trying to provide solutions in which you can test it. And we are sharing on information on which retention is important and in what model is boring for users, etc. So, as testing is important as the other factors. And you have to make sure that you're using the right communication and you're using the good advertisement format, the advertisement formats that are suitable for the game. And if you are, for example, providing a reward, then you shouldn't be actually harming the content, the structure of your game. And also, we are also doing, as you know, we are a mediation company. We're trying to peer-to-peer measurement. And for 4 years, we are doing cohort analysis. We are doing channel analysis and providing solutions for our customers. As I said, as we are in the market, we know the measurement is important and the key factor in the profitability and revenues. Measurement is important. Measuring your metrics and performances of them are important, because you're spending money and you need to make sure that everything's okay. And there's one feature which is used mostly, which is the cross promotion and premium features. This helps us in a way that without any kind of integration, we can introduce our games in other games that I produce. For example, I created a game, maybe I can publish that advertisement of that game in a game that I previously published. For example, instead of sharing my advertisements in the outside of the market by spending some money, I can do the advertisement of my game in another game that I really own. So without any kind of integration, you can generate and boost your revenue without spending so much money. A/B test is important because both applicable in apps and games. It's important to compare and test everything that you make in the game beforehand, because nothing is that easy and nothing is granted. You need to test everything and every content and every detail of the game. I need to detect the perception of the users. That's why we are doing ABA tests, especially
showing 3 times, 2 times, there will be a lot of different tests that you can apply, and for the results of this, maybe there are more than 100 KPIs that you can see. I think this is a very important tool, and our system is very critical here because it is giving a lot of insights for this. And what we do at Admost is being a platform in the sense of and for all these KPIs and systems that we can see with the highest accuracy, we can see it end to end, because there is a requirement. This is a strategy for success. And I have talked about our history as well, and the strategy that we are following is having the same strategy for every game maybe is more widely preferred, but what we do is we are the only firm that is working as a boutique in this. So we have specific strategies. We are giving specific support to the companies, and also you don't have to have some different country setups. So we have user-based strategies. So you can have users from different countries because Admost will be having different technical models for different users based on users. And also what we care about is in mediation platforms, we have advertisement platforms. Sometimes we don't do that so that we are making sure the proper commercials and ads are shown. Ad mediation, analytics, cross promotion, we can always measure all of these specifics, and we have a QR code right here you can use to communicate with us. If there are questions, I think I can go more in depth with the questions. Right now, we don't have any questions in the QA area. Can we get any questions in the live conference room? Let me ask. Is there any questions? We have one question from Aykut. Let me read that. Hello. You said that this project is started because of your own needs. There are firms with similar solutions. Other than more income, is there any other solutions that you have that are distinguishing your firm from others? Actually, there are very important differences, especially in other mediation terms. It is a self-service. You apply to a mediation firm and you do everything yourselves. Where am I going to show the ads? How quickly, how frequently, and the country setup and different waterfalls. What should be the price strategies? What should be the pricing? There are a lot of questions, and all of them, especially if they don't have a big team, if you don't have a big firm to be able to set up a theme for that. I had a connection warning. I am sorry, I'm going to turn off my webcam. Now, if you're a smaller team, having all of these yourself, giving time to these, and also having this know-how is an issue. And what we are doing here is that we have experienced that issue actually ourselves, and we realize the mediation companies give the same solution to all of the different companies, and we realize that they are just giving the same data to all the companies, and other what we can see is, for example, other companies and apps. For example, one of the biggest apps which came out of Turkey is they are not giving proper specific data for a specific apps, and the biggest difference is Admost doesn't have their own ad network, and we are searching for the best option for you. And because we don't have that, we are giving you the best option. If we had that, for example, we would prioritize our own platform, and we are very clear on that. We don't have our own advertisement systems, and a publisher working with us can realize that we are not competing with ad platforms, and they know that we are giving the best solution to you, and both for MMPs and analytic solutions, and also user acquisitions, mediation, advertisements. Some companies have all these systems by themselves, and there is also worry about data for these companies. And what we realize is this could create some conflicts. And we don't also use top to bottom waterfall strategy. We have specific solutions for user. For example, Ayşegül is using an iPhone 13 from United States, for example, or somebody else is using an Android user from Turkey, which doesn't click a lot of ads. So let's say that going from $50 and going towards the lower end is not logical. So our strategies will be starting from $30, for example, because it's more realistic, and there are a lot of different trees that we have user level optimization, and that is the important point, the technical changes, and we are giving a boutique service. So let's say I have a meeting today and our technical team is going to talk about another publisher's issues that are specific to him, and because we are working as a boutique company, we are constantly online and we can give you attention all that you need, and it is extremely important, especially for newer publishers and developers, so you don't even have to write a ticket or an email. And I says we have analytic solutions. I can see all the data, and we even have subscription systems in the request of our publishers, and all of them are working real time. And in terms of accuracy, they are great values. And of course, I can talk forever about my firm, but of course, it is important that you test these things yourselves. But what we believe in and what we do differently is these. Thank you for the question. Thank you, Ms. Ayşegül. Do we have any questions in the room? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, madam. For the analytics side and KPIs, there are a lot of things that I wasn't able to talk about. If there are any questions about that also, you can send an email to us as well, because we are supporting the newer publishers as well. Ayşegül, we have a question from the room. 1 second. If you could speak up, please. So our Admost are working focused on mobile apps. What about gaming world, which is based on PCs or Web 3.0? Or do you think about different methodologies that would be the least disturbing to the users? What would be the suggestions for that? Thank you for the question. We are focused on mobile. Currently, we don't have any projects about PC or web, and I think it is the proper case for us continuing on from the mobile. And mobile is the biggest market growth. And of course, there are other firms for web gaming, and we are applying that, but there are other companies for PC as well, but we don't have any investments or projects about Web 3.0 or PC gaming right now. But I can say about Web 3.0 is I haven't specifically worked on that platform, but about showing any advertisements in digital in any platform, I think you know the general strategy. You are developing the game and you do play games as well. So maybe in your genre, maybe you can see what similar games are doing in terms of advertisement and what you can apply. Maybe you can try to get some insights from your competitors. On the other hand, if you are able to use testing, maybe you will be able to test by using over like 1% or 5% of your users. If you're able to get some representative data from that, you can measure, you can try to measure by trial. Having benchmarks, analysis, and measurements are very important, and it's always useful. I think, of course, you must know what I'm talking about. I don't know if it will be helpful in practice, but I think that is the safest option. Thank you very much. We have another question. Of course. Can you hear me? I'm going to repeat it if you are not able to hear it. What is your work routine for a specialist on user acquisition, for an expert on user acquisition? What's the strategy? We don't actually do user acquisition. We have business development analysis. And within the app, we focus on increasing your advertisement income. You do your own user acquisition yourselves and you give advertisements to Facebook, Instagram, Google, and whatever. And you're going to have that strategy yourself. And what we do is the process after that user comes to your app. We see that this many users comes from these channels, and now what do we do and how do we achieve the maximum efficiency from the users that have come in? We have cases that we can increase the income, advertisement income, about 15 to 20%. In our business development analysis, try the game, they open and play the game, spend time with the game, and they also have feedback about the games as well. And first we check that if there are any improvements possible on that, we first focus on that. And after that, we try to create a proper pricing strategy for that. For example, you have users in United States, but for example, the highest reward maybe would be $100. And other ones have three pricing, for example, $150 and $30. We will have many different price points because in United States, yes, there are users who are worth $100, but for example, a placement of a $500 could have a 15% or 10% return. For example, there are a lot of users at up top. For example, you will be able to catch them, and our systems are working towards finding and keeping the top value for the users. And our SDK is very sophisticated. It is not what we give to everybody. We have specific adjusted SDKs for everybody. For example, let's say they send a request and they picked up a field and they're asking a commercial advertisement. For example, let's say I'm going to show this advertisement to that for $100, for example. And if you have time, we can ask for more requests. We can try to go higher up. Could it be $200? Of course, we will also check the maximum request limits, and we will strategize that. And there are little extra points that we do in addition to the SDK, and these things improve the efficiency. And our business development analyst takes a look at the daily performance based on countries. And what would your monetization team do is what they are doing as well. And they check every day where they are improving, where they are not improving. Is there a problem in a specific region? All the metrics that I have talked about, they check it daily, and there are automatic reports as well in our system that we check every minute. And if there's an issue in there, then we create alerts for that. If you want, you can also get these alerts as well. We are constantly controlling that, and we are constantly checking that the income is increasing, and we check the changes, and we try to see the effects of the changes. And maybe we can have different strategies for different countries. For example, a user would say that in the United States, I want a specific strategy, and we start the A/B testing, and we check the reports. So what I mean when I was talking about being a boutique company is that we are constantly in communication with your firm, and we focus on your product. And of course, I'm not talking about giant companies. Maybe 70 to 80% of the companies, gaming companies, do not have monetization teams because they don't need it. So that's why a business development analysts do that every month, every week, every day. That's hopefully was satisfactory for you. Yes, they are wondering about the pricing model that you use. Of course, that is an important question. Now, for the pricing in the market, all the mediation solutions are free in the market. And as I've said, these mediation systems are requiring a high amount of technical know-how, and it is not easy to write these SDKs and systems. And of course, there are costs with that. And if you purchase something for free, for example, either you are the product, if it's free, you are the product. So the fact that they are free shows that these mediation solutions have their own advertisement solutions, and they are actually earning the money from those. And as I've said, we don't have our own advertisement inventory. And what you know in exchange for that is, all right, everything is justified and controlled, and we are actually going to give you the highest priced advertisement. I am not going to, I would make a lot of money if I were to even just include 10% of our own advertisement if we had that. And in case that for the bigger companies, even if you just use 10 or 20% of the advertisement, then you don't have to charge for mediation. That's what they do at the bigger companies. They prefer their own advertisements, and that's how they make money. We don't do that, and we ask about 3 to 5% a commission from your advertisement income. But if you are doing also user recollection, and if you are growing, we take out your expenditure on user recollection, and then we ask for a percentage. Because of course, if you are growing, if you are investing, then we want to support that as well, because that is the way to grow. We want to grow together, and that's why we would take out the costs of user recollection. Then we will ask for the advertisement income after that. And we can send you a pricing document if you want. if you come in contact with us. I think there are no other questions from the room. All right, thank you very much. I hope this was explanatory. And if there are any questions, as I've said, you can always contact me. And we will try to answer as much as we can. If it's something that we have an expertise on, we will help you. Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you to Indivay for this organization. Hopefully, the rest of the webinars will be great as well. Thank you very much. See you later. Thank you for your participation.